Hello, my creative friends, and welcome to another episode of The Daily Prompt. If you're just joining us, over the past several episodes, we've gone through and we've reverse engineered sort of the complete creative process. We've taken a different video to do a deep dive, well, sort of an overview dive into each of the 7 phases of the process. Then I showed you how that ultimately becomes a loop to help you sort of go through the part of the process is about going through the process again and again. And the way that we learn is by absorbing new information and physicalizing it and actually taking action with it. Now, today, I want to talk about a sort of little appreciated aspect of the complete process that sort of became clear to me as I was reverse engineering this whole thing. And that is the time involved, specifically how long it's going to take you. I recently spoke to a would-be participant in my writer's room group who basically said that they weren't interested in going through fast screenplay simply because 3 years is a long time to wait. Couple things that I want to unpack about that. First of all, it doesn't take 3 years, it takes 1. Secondly, if you're waiting for 3 years, yeah, it's a long time to sit around and wait. You have to take action every day. The reason this is the daily prompt is because I want you to take action each day. If you're just watching these and feeling good about the new ideas or insights that you have and you're not taking action with them, I appreciate it. Stick around. We could use the view numbers, but ultimately it's not really getting you any closer to where you need to be. You need to take action to keep moving forward towards that. But I want to talk about specifically the time aspect of it. There's a lot of sort of books out there, you know, how to write a movie in a month, or you know, how to break into Hollywood by the end of the year, or whatever it might be. And it really, the problem with these is not that you can't, it's not that that's not possible, because it actually is possible, but it's only possible after you have the framework. It's only possible after you have developed the process, after you have learned how to do it. The problem is that it takes time to learn how to do it. One of the things I'm noticing when I'm reading the comments and that of these videos is how much you're taking these ideas and being inspired by them, and it's getting your writing going, and I'm super excited about all of that. The problem that I have is we are talking an overview at this point. We will dig a lot deeper into all this stuff. Don't worry, we will get there. But it's going to take time to cover the details and nuances to actually get to all that stuff, right? So what I wanted to do is sort of have a look at, I want to give you a sense of how long it takes me to teach the 7 phases. Because if you understand that, then you'll understand at least sort of a basic framework of how long it would take you to master that part of the process. Because if you don't take the time to actually master part of the process, you're working with ideas, you're working with information, you're thinking you know something, you're going in and you're applying it. You don't actually know it, and so you're not actually getting the value out of that thing. You're taking action, you're moving forward, and that's great, and if that's all it's about, perfect. But ultimately, I want you to succeed, and success means mastering the process. Success means doing it at a professional level. So let's go through and look at sort of how much time I take for each of the processes. So when we talk about pre-aligning your imagination, the reality is pre-aligning comes from all of the knowledge and experience that you have to date in your career. So if you've already got a lot of filmmaking experience, if you've got already written 3, 5, 10, 100 screenplays, you're bringing all that knowledge. If you're going to take some time to sort of watch someone's films and get a sense of what they like to make and the kinds of movies they make, then all of that time, all of that you've already put into it is already helping you to pre-align. So if, you know, intermediate or advanced level writers who have experience, writers who have been produced, all of that knowledge, all that insight, all that wisdom is part of pre-aligning with their target. But so when I teach that, it takes about a month to teach people the process, taking them step by step through that process. So if you think you understand the idea of pre-aligning with your target and you haven't put in a solid month towards it, I'm going to venture to say you haven't quite got the grips on it. So wrap your mind around it's going to take a little bit of time so that you can really genuinely be in sync creatively with your target before you sit down for that story development phase. Does that make sense? Now, talk about the story development phase. Once we have you sort of in the right frame of mind, you understand sort of where you're going, what the audience is interested in, what your specific target would be looking for, then we go into the story development phase. Now, the story development phase can take as long or as little as you like. It takes me about 2 months to sort of go through that process. Now, the story development phase is where I would say 80 to 90% of screenwriting education is focused these days. All those books about, the 3-act structure, or about the 10 steps to this, or the 8 steps to that, or the 101 rules to this. It's like all that stuff is focused on story development. It's not focused on process. That's what I'm bringing to the table that's new. No, everybody's focused on technique. Everybody's focused on and so how long is it going to take you to take your idea and shape it into a story plan? Well, ultimately, once you have the process, once you've mastered it, once you understand those skills, it's going to take you anywhere from a day to a week, right? Because you'll be able to flesh things out quickly. But to learn how to do that, it's going to take you about 2 months to do that, or however long it's going to take you to go through a screenwriting class or read a couple of books and really get your head around not just how to find an idea and grow it into a story, turn it into a story, but actually go through the process of doing that so that you have a story plan. Does that make sense? So then it's time to start writing. How long is it going to take you to write your project? Now, my approach is all about as you want to get the material on the page as quickly as possible. It takes us about a month to go through that phase because we do about 5 pages a day, basically, but you can blast through it much faster, as fast as you can type. I could probably, if I wanted to, blast out 100 pages of screenplay in about 3 days if I really wanted to. I usually don't want to do that. But if you have a solid story plan, then you'll be able to do that quickly. Now, the faster you go, the more you get used to it, the more it becomes familiar to you, the faster you can move through that. Now, when we talk about moving into the rewrite phase, the strengthen phase, this is the beast. This is where it all falls apart for most people. Because anybody can write a first draft, and you can write a pretty solid first draft if you have a solid story development engine behind you. But ultimately, what comes out of our head tends not to come out of our head fully formed. We have a lot of work and effort to do to try to take that and turn it into what we want it to be. And that's what the rewrite, the strengthen phase is all about, taking the story from what it is to what you want it to be. So this is where most writers end up spending months or years because they can't figure out how to fix it, or they can't figure out how to make it what they wanted it to be, because some loose strand here, there, or everywhere is going to pull apart the entire thing. So it takes me about 3 months to guide writers through those 6 levels, right? So we start at the broad level, we move narrow and narrow until we get to the beat by beat level to make sure that the experience for the reader is what we want it to be. If you're taking any less than 3 months to learn the rewrite process, you are not learning the rewrite process. You might be rewriting, you might be tinkering, but it's simply not possible your first time out of the gate to do it in less than 3 months, and to do it well in less than 3 months. In most cases, that 3 months can take 6 months, can take a year for a lot of writers if you get stuck in things and you're not just sort of moving through that process. It took me probably 2-3 years to get to the point where I understood rewriting. I understood how to approach the rewrite process. Even just understanding these 6 levels helps you with a mental framework as you go through it, but actually enacting that, taking it from idea to physical action, taking it through that process is a lot more complex and a lot more nuanced. You're going to have all sorts of story techniques, story ideas, how to improve your dialogue, how to improve your pacing, how to improve your characters, taking a lot of the things that you learn in the story development phase or that is about your story development process and applying that within the rewrite context. It's a very different animal, developing a story and rewriting a story. 2 completely different things. One is you're exploring, you're shaping in your imagination. The other is you're trying to fix something that already exists. You're trying to improve it and elevate it to some degree. So the next phase after that, once you have that story, in theory, 3 months later, could be 6 months later. In theory, once you have that story, you're ready for polishing. So polishing, turning something into literally a page turner read, takes me about a month and a half to teach writers how to do. There's a lot of techniques, there's a lot of nuances, how to make the eye flow down the page, how to improve your sort of word choices, how to make sure that everything is designed for the cinema experience of the mind. Again, if you're a new writer and you think this is something that you can gloss over, or you think this is something that you're not going to need to do, you're going to put pages out there that are just not usable. If you think you can turn an idea into a script in a month, or in 3 weeks, or in 6 days, or in 6 months, then you're not fully appreciating the process. Now, again, I don't need you to join me if you don't want to, but what I do need you to understand, if you want your success, is for you to go through and understand the process, to understand that you have to go through all these motions to actually develop the skills at that professional level. And if you're not developing at that professional level, it's never going to be viable. It's never going to be something a producer could say yes to. So let's say we have that thing, we have the page turner screenplay, we send it out into the world for notes and feedback. How long does it take to learn how to decipher and interpret and understand notes and feedback and use that to adapt your project, right? It takes me about a month, about a month and a half to help writers understand that process. If you don't understand the rewrite process, you're probably not going to be able to do the alignment process very well, because when you get the notes and feedback and you learn how to decipher and understand and figure out the hidden meanings in what people are saying to you, and when all the notes are conflicting with one another, how do you figure out what the actual note is underneath? To figure all that out, okay, great, now you figured that out. Now how do you go back and fix your project? You need that rewrite process. Does that make sense? So that takes about a month. Then finding and connecting with the producer. Now, this is obviously something that can take a lot of time, or it can take a little time. If you've actually developed the alignment level skills, the skill of being able to understand notes and feedback and use it and apply it and rewrite, then when you get notes from a producer, a production company, or agent, or manager, or people at a script competition, or a paid note service, or whoever it is, you're able to then adapt and align that to your target. Well, then that can help bridge that gap. So the process to teach the sort of marketing process of my approach to the payoff phase of how to find and connect with your project's ideal producer takes me about 6 months to teach. 6 weeks, sorry, to teach. So if you think you're going to click on some little blast service and get into the hands of the right people without that marketing strategy, it's not going to happen. If you're not hooking them, pulling them in, and then exceeding their expectations. Every little detail, every nuance of this is essential to the process itself, right? So this is why I say it takes me about a year to go through Fast Screenplay, right? Now, again, if you're not going to join Fast Screenplay, I know people go, la, 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 Fast Screenplay. But if you're not going to join me, you still have to understand, you still have to appreciate that what I've mapped out, if you don't go step by step through it, is probably going to take you a good 3 to 5 to 10 years to learn how to do. I've said in this show that I'm going to reveal everything that I do. I'm going to teach everything that's there for free to help you, because I can't possibly make every movie of everyone watching this right now. I want you to have the tools and the power to go out and do it on your own. You don't have to join me. It's totally okay, I promise. The problem is that it's going to take me 5 to 10 years to convey all this. And when I do convey all this, it's going to be information. You're not necessarily going to be doing it step by step. So that's why I keep coming back to it. You don't have to join me in Fast Screenplay if you don't want to. My point is, though, that in order for you to achieve your goal, and please, if you've stopped listening because I said the name of my system, please at least hear what I'm saying now. What I'm saying now is that to actually succeed, to actually achieve professional results, to actually get wherever it is you're trying to go with or without me, you have to understand that you have to go all the way through the process. You miss any part of this process, it is not going to be possible. If you skip any of it, or if you don't do it to a professional level, it's not going to be possible. So you're going to go through bits and pieces of the motions. You're going to feel like you're getting somewhere. And then you're going to come back to me later and you're going to be like, you sold me down the river. You lied to me. You said this was how it happens and it didn't work for me. Well, it doesn't work for you because you're not doing the complete process. And that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to learn it from me, you don't want to join me, that's totally okay. But you have to learn it. You have to understand it. You have to get out there and dig deep into all this stuff. This woman who said to me, 3 years is a long time to wait, is absolutely right. If you're waiting, 3 years is a long time. But 3 years to actually learn this stuff, to actually master this stuff, here's a news flash for you. As of this recording, I always forget, 47 years old. What do you think of that? Do I look good? Do I not? Put it in the comments. I have been thinking about movies, dreaming about movies, wanting to be involved in movies since I was 8 years old. I reached out to try to get my first acting agent when I was 12 years old. Got my first acting agent at 12. Because I thought my life was passing me by. 5 years. When you're 8, 5 years, your life is passing you by. So I had to do it. I had to get there now. It took me almost 3 years to get my first professional acting gig because I had to do classes and classes and classes. I wasn't ready. I went into my first auditions. They said I was too green. I didn't know what I was doing. But I practiced and I worked at it and I worked at it and I worked at it. Along the way, I discovered the film process. I love making things. I'd always had a video camera, made little home movies and stuff. But now working on big productions and big sets and working on the sound department and working in the lighting department and working in the camera department, I just love all of it, right? The problem is there's a lot to learn along the way. If you think 3 years is too long to wait, I've been working at this for 35 years. Are you willing to wait that long? Are you willing to invest the kind of time and money that I have invested to get to where I am now, which is begging writers on the internet to take action toward their goal? Whether you join me or not, take action. I'm begging you to take action toward your goal. It's the only way you're going to get there. The first script you write is not going to be good. The first script you write is not going to be viable or sellable. It's just not. You have to learn the mechanics of it. My whole attempt is to make this process faster and easier for you. That doesn't mean it's quick, doesn't mean you're going to learn it overnight. But if you actually follow through, you take that action, you will get where you're trying to go. Is it going to happen next month? No. It's not going to happen next month watching this show either. It's not going to happen next month you go watch some other show or read some other book or listen to gurus or go to seminars and do classes. It's not going to happen next month. It's not. It takes time. It's like, I want to play the piano. So you get a book. Here's how to play the piano. Okay, now I know how to play the piano. No, you don't. You have to practice. You have to do your scales. You have to practice and practice and practice. 5 years later, 10 years later, you start to get okay. You start to get kind of good. Maybe you have a natural aptitude and you can get really good in 3 years. But it's not going to happen in 1 year. It's not going to happen right away. And this is probably the most important message of all of the messages that I have for you. And that is, this takes time. It takes patience. It takes practice. It takes perseverance. If you don't have that or you don't want to invest that, then you're not valuing the ideas in your head. You're not valuing your unique window on the world. You're not valuing your perception, that fabulous, unique thing that you bring to the world. It's true. Every single one of us has stories, not one, not 10, hundreds of stories inside us that can change the world, that can affect someone else emotionally or open their eyes to a new perspective or a new idea, a new way of thinking, a new message, whatever it might be. You have that in you. If you're not willing to invest the time, hold on to the dream and just watch this for fun. Don't bother trying, because if you're not going to try, if you're not going to follow through, it's not going to happen. And I want to save you time. I want to save me time, ultimately. At the end of the day, I don't know if people are watching this that haven't been watching from the very beginning, but I spent 18 years searching for material to produce. Now, admittedly, maybe I was looking in the wrong place, but it was wide open. I got submissions from all around the world. I found that fewer than 1 in 1,000 projects was viable. 1 in 1,000. I want you to think about just how depressing that is for somebody who's been thinking and dreaming and planning all this stuff since he was 8 years old. Think about that. It's depressing. Now you say, well, I'm going to be that 1 in 1,000. I say, okay, but if you're not committed to it, I'm sorry, I've dealt with literally 10 to 15,000 writers in my life at this point. All of them think they're the one. None of them follow through. It's maddening. Here's the way to follow through. The way to follow through is to understand that this will take time. People get confused because I call my system fast screenplay. So they think, oh, I sign up for this and we'll have a career in a month. It doesn't work like that. You can develop a project in a month, but only after the process becomes intuitive for you. Only after you have a level of mastery. Just like a master painter doesn't have to sit and think about every little step because they've been doing it enough. They understand it enough. They have the skill. And that's my point. Stick with me on the show. I will take you through all of it. I will show you how to develop the skills. Or take the shortcut and go through the entire process. It's entirely up to you, and I'm happy with whatever choice you choose. This show is not just about teaching screenwriting. This show is not just about helping you get there. This show is also my vlog of my experience building the independent film studio. So as I teach all that stuff, as I give you that daily prompt, I'm also going to show you me making stuff. I'm going to show you me building my distribution network. I'm going to show you me basically acting out this strategy, implementing this strategy that I'm mapping out for you. So, I got worked up there, didn't I? Anyway, so let's bring this back to a daily prompt for you. I want you to do something for me today. I want you to do something for you today. But if you have to say you're doing it for me, do it for me. I want you to write down how long you are committed to doing this. How far are you willing to go for this? How much time are you willing to put into this? If you've been doing this for a long time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I would love for you to, in the comments, tell me how long you've been at it. Tell me how long you've been at it. Tell me how much you've put into it. Tell me what kind of reward you've gotten out of it. I would love to know if I'm talking to people who have tons of experience or if I'm talking to people who are brand new at it. But if you've got 10 or 15 years in it, I want you to ask yourself how much more time are you going to put into it. Here's the thing. I've been dreaming about it for nearly 40 years, been acting on my impulses to go into this industry for 35 years. I've been teaching screenwriters for 20 years. I have been building fast screenplay for 10 years. I've been doing this show now for almost a month. Do you know how long I commit to? The rest of my damn life. That's what you need to do if you really want it. Maybe you don't really want it that bad. It's all I know. It's all I've ever wanted. So I am committed to it. So I'm putting that out there for you. What are you going to put out there for you? That's today's daily prompt. Thank you for watching. We got a really good one tomorrow. See you then.